All right, apprentices of Kent Business College, welcome. We're about to dive into two concepts that are absolutely crucial, not just for acing your PMP exams, but for stopping your future projects from turning into a complete and utter mess. So on your marks, get set, let's get baking.
Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. We've all seen it happen. A project that just goes completely pear-shaped, where everything feels chaotic and messy right from the word go. It's stressful, it's inefficient, and let's be real, it usually ends in a bit of a disaster. And this chaos, this project management soggy bottom, it almost always happens for one of two reasons. Either we start off with a complete muddle, no clear plan, or we finish with a half-baked effort that nobody really wants. So, to avoid that disaster and become a proper star baker in the world of project management, our very first step is something called the definition of ready. You can just call it DOR. Think of this as our pre-bake check. This is it. This is the one simple golden question our definition of ready is there to answer. Before we even think about preheating the oven or cracking an egg, we have to ask ourselves, are we actually ready to go? You can think of it as your mise en place. That fancy French term for getting all your ingredients measured, chopped, and perfectly laid out before you start cooking. It's your project's recipe checklist, making sure you've got everything you need before the real work begins. And why do we even bother with this? Well, it's pretty simple. It stops the team from grabbing plain flour when they need self-raising or using salt instead of sugar. It just brings a bit of lovely order to what could be total chaos in the kitchen. Just look at this slide for a second. It shows you everything. On the left, you've got a messy kitchen. The user story is just make a certificate. What on earth does that even mean? It's chaos. But on the right, perfect mise en place. The requirements are crystal clear, compliance is checked, the size is estimated. Now that is ready to go into the sprint. So here's the crucial bit. A good user story has to meet these criteria to be considered ready. And this isn't just some boring list, it's our shared recipe card. The entire team can look at it, nod their heads, and go, right, we all know exactly what we're baking today. Okay, let's fast forward. The bake is out of the oven. It smells pretty good. It looks all right, but that does not mean it's ready to be served to the judges. No. Now it has to pass the final, most rigorous quality check, the definition of done. And this is the question our definition of done answers. Is this cake just baked, or is it a true showstopper? Is this piece of work just coded, or is it actually finished, properly tested, and valuable? This is our final taste test. This is the team's promise for what done actually looks like. It's not just a vague feeling, It's a concrete, agreed-upon checklist. It is the gold standard that every single piece of work has to meet before we dare call it complete. And this slide just illustrates that journey perfectly. It's not enough for a developer to say, right, I'm done with the coding. That's like a baker just handing you a scorching hot tin from the oven. No! It has to be cooled, decorated, tested for flavor, and get the final seal of approval before it's properly done. Let's go back to our little certificate story. For it to pass its taste test, all of these things must be true. If the branding is just a little bit off or the security hasn't been tested, it's sent straight back to the kitchen. It is not done. No Hollywood handshakes for that. Okay, time to put these two head to head. It's the technical challenge. This is where you're going to get your marks in the exam. So listen up, this is the important bit.
So when you're in that exam tent and the pressure is on, how do you instantly tell these two apart without having a complete meltdown?
Okay, have a good look at this slide. It is basically your secret weapon for the exam. DOR is all about what happens before work starts, focusing on clarity. DOD is what happens after work finishes, and it's all about quality. And see that mandatory row? DOD is a must in Scrum. DOR is just a really, really good idea. Remember that. And hey, if you need another daft way to remember it, just think of a nightclub. The definition of ready is the bouncer on the door, checking your ticket, making sure you're not wearing trainers. The definition of done is that same bouncer making sure you don't stumble out at 3 a.m. causing a scene. One checks you in, the other makes sure you leave properly. Right, let's bring this all home then. How does all this help you become a PMP star baker and get top marks in your exam? Well, in the real world, and especially in those hybrid projects that PMI just loves to test you on, these two concepts are your absolute best mates. They're like bridges, connecting the super fast world of agile sprints with the structured gates and controls of traditional project management.
And here it is, your Exam Spotter's Guide. If a question is moaning about unclear requirements or work starting too early, your brain should just scream, definition of ready. If it's complaining about shoddy quality or work being rejected, you know it's a definition of done problem. It's as simple as that. And there you have it, your perfect, concise, money-in-the-bank exam answer. It's clear, it hits all the right keywords, and it shows the examiner you know exactly what you're on about. I'd recommend you get very, very familiar with that sentence.
So, by mastering these two concepts, you're not just ready for your exam. You're ready to go into the workplace and stop projects from ever having a soggy bottom again. You've got the recipe for success. So go on, be the star baker. Good luck!